For those of you viewing today, we have a very exciting interview for you with two employees of Network Rail, and this coincides with Rail Week. So we're going to start off. Andrew, our Engineering Assurance Manager, is going to do a short presentation for you all about what he does in his role and how he got into that. And then he will be joined by Heather, our apprentice engineer, who will then, they will both then answer some questions for you. Okay, so we shall make a start. I'll just stop sharing my screen, Andrew, and then you can pop yours up.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, fantastic, right. Okay, yeah, so being an engineer for Network Rail, and this is my short presentation, just going through how I became an engineer for Network Rail, what I did, and what it's like to be an engineer for Network Rail, and to be an engineer in general. So who am I, what do I do, and what is it like to work for Network Rail? That is me by a very, very good friend of mine, by a Banksy painting in the middle of Birmingham, which was a bit of a surprising day, to say the least, to wake up in the morning and find out Banksy sprayed a mural on one of your structures, and you've got to go out there and put something up to protect it whilst being on the news. So who am I? My name's Andy Cooper. I joined the British Army at 18, where I sort of started my employment journey. I was actively deployed to Kosovo, Bosnia and Iraq. And actually, if you can see the picture there, there's me in Iraq, enjoying, so to speak, my time over there, a nice 7 months in Iraq. I served for 7 years and left at age 25. When I was in the army, I found that I enjoyed working in small teams as part of a bigger picture, as part of a bigger strategy. And I enjoyed working with big machines and a bit of a small cog in a bigger team. I enjoyed the team ethos and working with people who had this similar aim as myself. So that then, when I left the army, I decided that dodging bullets and bombs and dodging trains is, it's a bit easier to dodge a train than a bullet and a bomb. So I embarked on my journey at Network Rail. I enjoyed working outside, working in teams, and Network Rail really appealed to me. So who are Network Rail? So we work round the clock to provide a safe, reliable experience for the millions of people using Europe's fastest growing railway each and every day. We are the team who keep trains running through fixing problems to making sure that trains know where they are going. So we maintain the track, we maintain the signals that send the trains to the places where they should be going, and we control those trains. We have all types of engineers who work in our team, from civil engineers who look after our buildings and structures, to mechanical and electrical engineers who look after our signals and telecoms. And we work together as a big team to sort of help everybody get from where they need to be to where they're going. And we also move a hell of a lot of goods and freight through our freight services. So medical goods through the coronavirus pandemic. We've moved all sorts of different things. You walking up and down the railway asset yourself, you see all sorts going past on trains, whether it's cars, as I said, medical goods or other things. What do I enjoy about being a frontline engineer? So I enjoy working within a team who are working towards a common goal. As I previously stated with my time in the army, pride in knowing that the work we do is actively getting people home safely, and that actual pride that your neighbours using the trains that you help maintain to get from their place of work to home on time and safely. Problem solving on a day-to-day basis. So I liken being an engineer, especially a frontline engineer, to solving a Rubik's Cube puzzle every day. It's a different puzzle that's presented to you every day, and you've got to do your best to work out the solutions for those puzzles. Working with a great group of people as well. As you can see there, some of my team members, we've been recognised there through working on the front line through the floods. I had 127 people working with me in my frontline role, and we did some really, really great and amazing stuff, including ended up being on ITV as part of the railway programme that was recently shown on ITV. And it was just every day was a different challenge, a different set of circumstances, and we worked with great people who you could have a laugh and a joke along the way, but you knew that the work you was doing was relevant and credible. So working in interesting conditions and places throughout the country. So if you can see the picture on the bottom left, that's me in a place called Arley Tunnel, which is up towards Nuneaton. And that's a big long tunnel that stretches underneath a housing estate. And you just get to see these really interesting places that you wouldn't necessarily think were there or actually get to see. I mean, the inside and in and about of Birmingham New Street, you wouldn't think on the face of it that it's so interesting, but there's so many different little quirks to it that you end up finding out as you're working on the asset. Reward and recognition for a job well done. As I say, that was us getting some awards in the top right for working through the floods in the winter earlier this year. And you know, we're constantly being recognised and rewarded for pulling the rabbit out of the hat and getting trains running in some really challenging conditions. Working with big machinery. You'll see on some of the other slides, we get to work with some fantastic big bits of engineering kit and equipment, from huge cranes to trains that go down lifting the track up, lasers to measure different structures and different surfaces, and all sorts of data. And there's the amount of stuff that keeps coming out for us to work with lately is phenomenal. We're now exploring the use of using drones to do some of our inspections with, whether that's vegetation or fencing, also using satellite imagery. So it's really getting into the high-tech world of technology, and I really enjoy that, picking up a new piece of technology and seeing the solutions that offers to my day-to-day job. Career opportunities, both in this country and abroad. So through engineering, there are plenty of career opportunities that we can go into through internally in this country, working for Network Rail, working for other engineering companies as well. But Network Rail also offer the opportunity to work abroad within Network Rail Consulting. So that's in other countries like Australia, America, Saudi Arabia, Canada. There's the list of countries is growing all the time as we're tendering out to those other countries. But the opportunities are there all the time if you've got your experience and you've got your qualifications to go off and live in another country for 6 months, 12 months at a time, and then come back to the UK and bring that experience back with you. I personally know quite a few people, quite a few friends who have gone and done that. So the challenges, it isn't without its challenges. Working in engineering it can be challenging at times, not all the time, but certainly it can be very challenging in some cases. So that's working outside in all weathers. You know, I've been outside in snow as deep as my knees. I've been in the rain. I've been in sleet, the cold, the sun, a lot of stuff. You know, a lot of different weathers. You name it, you have to get out there to find the solution to get the trains running. Maths, of course, engineering is maths based, so you work with a lot of maths, but it's all good, and it helps. Me personally, sitting in a classroom being taught maths, I would struggle, but actually using maths on a day-to-day basis and putting it to real-world scenarios really helped me understand maths and appreciate it a whole lot better as well. Working in challenging situations when the time's against you and you're trying to get something fixed, you're trying to find a solution to get the train running because you know people are waiting to get home after work, or they're waiting to go on their holidays, and you can be in some challenging situations at times. And yeah, more maths, what can I say? Maths is the centre of engineering. But it's these challenges, though, that are the real reason as to why the job is so enjoyable. Nothing worth doing is ever easy. It really isn't. And when you come through some of those challenges and you look back, you really appreciate doing what you did and going through that. And it's more rewarding, and then comes the recognition as well. So that's the end of my presentation, and we'll go over to any questions for both myself or Heather.
Thank you very much, Andrew. So as this whole interview is about exploring different pathways into engineering, specifically rail engineering this time, we want to ask you a few questions from both of your perspectives, from you, Andrew, as coming from a career change, getting into the business, and Heather, being an apprentice and how you got into things. So a question for you both to begin with is, what did you want to be when you grew up in primary school and secondary school?
Do you want to go first, Heather?
Yeah, I'll go for it. So weirdly, I used to watch this program, so I used to really want to be an FBI agent when I was younger. Realised that you had to move to America for that one. In secondary school, I sort of settled on psychology and went off to uni to do that, and actually realised that it really wasn't for me, and that's how I sort of ended up finding my way to engineering after that. So it wasn't something that I thought of when I was younger at all, but doesn't necessarily mean that this is the perfect job for me. So yeah, that was my journey to it.
For myself, I always wanted to be an astronaut. I always wanted to join the army. It was something that I really wanted to, and I'm glad I did it and almost got it out of my system. I enjoyed my time in the forces very much so. I still got some very close friends from being in the army. But yeah, circumstances changed in my life. I had young children, so I couldn't be off going to Belize in the jungle or Iraq fighting in the desert because I had young kids that depend on me. So I decided on a career change. Through my presentation, I've gone into a few of those reasons why I picked engineering, but I'm glad I did because when I joined Network Rail, they supported me in going back to college to get all my engineering qualifications and degrees. They gave me the day release to do that. And then I ended up sort of flying up through the ranks and becoming a senior engineer with Network Rail. So, it's all good. But now I, absolutely echo to what Heather's saying, that sometimes you can think you're on a path and things change for you, but it works out in the end.
Brilliant. So a question for you, Andy. What qualifications do you need to become an engineer?
So ideally, what you need to do is that you can go to there's two separate routes of doing this. You can go to university, where you can go off and do a degree in engineering. You can then take that with you, join Network Rail through the graduate scheme, and then you can then progress through the business like that. Or you can do similarly to what Heather's doing, where you can join our apprenticeship scheme, and you can get into railway engineering like that. If you can go to school, get some really good qualifications, get and focus on maths, science, technology, and then leave with those good qualifications. Go into A levels, but you can pursue a career through the apprenticeship scheme.
Brilliant. Just a note for anybody who's watching, if you do have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A facility, which you'll find at the bottom of your screen, and we'll get to those in due time. A question for you, Heather. Andy touched on it being an apprentice. Can you talk us through what led you to joining Network Rail as an apprentice, and what did the process involve?
So I was sort of working after sort of trialing uni, finding I didn't like it. So I started just working sort of in sales and doing different jobs. Was working in a reasonable job, but it was one of those jobs that you just couldn't see going anywhere. So I thought I really need to find something that is a career, is something that I'm passionate about. So I started looking, and my dad actually worked for the railway, so it was something that I knew about, and I started looking on the job boards, and initially I found our level 3 apprenticeship, and I applied for that, and just on the off chance, a friend said to me, did you know that they do a level 4, which is a slightly higher apprenticeship? And I saw the advert and I just applied, and was invited for an interview. And the interview process was quite relatively simple. It was what you'd expect. So the first part was an interview with 2 people, just your question and answer based interview. That was only half an hour. It flew by. The people were really nice. And after that, I had to complete a task about some kind of scheduling something. And then after that was the group exercise. So there was 4 of us invited to that interview. And then we just completed an exercise about, it was about how to cross the railway without safely. So we came up with a bridge idea, and we had to actually build it out of paper and sellotape and all those things. So it was quite fun actually. And then that was it really. And then we were just rang afterwards, and I was offered the job, which was really good. So it was quite a good easy process, really. It was a lot of being prepared counted. So
fantastic. Andy, do you work with apprentices much? And what, if you do, what advice would you share with apprentices?
So in my old role as a track maintenance engineer in Birmingham, yes, apprentices would come in and report to me, and I'd be their mentor as an engineer. I would guide them through the apprenticeship program, and then see that after the program that they were suitably placed within my team. Now I've moved to my new role as the engineer assurance manager within the technical authority. I don't really actively get involved with apprentices too much. It's more graduates now. However, what I would say to apprentices is be confident as you can, be prepared, as Heather said as well, and just enjoy it. Really enjoy your time. You manage to get onto the apprenticeship scheme. Enjoy your time on the apprenticeship scheme. Ask loads of questions. There's never a stupid question. If you're thinking that you don't know something, you should ask the question. Get to know people. Enjoy the team. Enjoy working within the team. It's great.
Brilliant. To both of you, what advice would you give to pupils on our If You're an Engineer programme, if they are considering doing an apprenticeship in engineering? We'll start with Heather.
So firstly, I'd say absolutely do it. It's brilliant. It's such a great experience. You learn so much and get opportunities that you would never get anywhere else, to just see major works happening and new technologies. It's an excellent experience. But sat at school, it's such a different, it seems so far in the future. So I would definitely say think about when you take A-levels or your next step in education, what that gives you. Sometimes it's easier to go for a more generic qualification as opposed to a specific one. If you change career, it's always adaptable. And just try and experience it. If you can get onto a work experience program, or somebody, or just take that opportunity. If you can go and try it out, you can see it for yourself. And yeah, just see think about the interest that you have. For example, the railway, but the engineering sector as a whole has such a host of variety of jobs. You think about being on site and physically doing something, but there's project management, there's design, there's construction, there's so many different elements to engineering that I never even considered. So definitely think, if you think, oh, I like new technologies, well, there's an availability at Network Rail and in engineering to do that. If you like managing and organising, there's programme management, so there's always an option, so definitely consider it.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to, I think Heather pretty much covered all bases there, to be honest. Just consider it, and yeah, absolutely. I think Heather's bang on right. There is more to it than meets the eye. Scratch the surface, have a look, experience new things. The world's your oyster. The new technologies thing is really, really exciting at the minute. So if you are interested in some of the new technologies that are coming forward, it's not standing still one iota. There's something new coming about every day, and it's really quite exciting.
Fab. Another one for both of you. What non-academic skills do you need to be an engineer? We'll start with you, Andy, this time.
Non-academic skills to be an engineer. So you need good communication skills. You need to be very open and honest, and to be able to communicate that very effectively and concisely. That's what I would say is a really good non-academic skill to have, and confidence as well. Try to have confidence. Confidence to ask the questions you need to ask, confidence to work with different people on a daily basis, and just that, and communications really for me is key, especially working on the railways, because as you can imagine, we talk to a lot of different people a lot of the time. So if you take a typical job on the railway, you turn up on site, you're going to be setting up a safe system of work, which means you're going to be potentially stopping trains so you can get in onto the track and do what you need to do. And that setting up just that safe system of work before a spade hits the ground can be a multitude of different conversations with different people. So you just need to have the confidence that you and be prepared, so that you know what you're talking about and you're able to offer that over to somebody else in order for them to grant you access to an asset.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, I was definitely going to bring up communication. You're 100% right, Andrew. It's one of the biggest factors, especially in network rail. You've got to be able to talk to people, and that sort of brings me on to, I think teamwork is one of the biggest parts of working on the railway. Everything we do, you are part of a team, whether that's being on site in a small gang to being part of a big project. It's all a teamwork, and communication between the team is so important. One, to get along with your colleagues, and two, to have a successful project. So it's really important to get along with people, and I've had to learn that sometimes you don't always get on with someone straight away, but you've got to learn how to work around people and understand how they work and understand how you work, and then put that together and come up with something that you can both be happy with. I think as well, you need to be able to be organised. I find that there's always a lot going on. And you can be involved in lots of different things, but that means that you need to organise your time properly. Also, I think, especially if you're on site, timekeeping is really important. Lots of possessions and things are all timed, and projects are all timed, and if you're late, it can make a big impact to a project, which can have, you know, cost implications. So it's really important to, you know, have good timekeeping.
Mm-hmm. A question for you, Heather. Would you consider mentoring pupils, considering an apprenticeship in the future?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's so much available in an apprenticeship, and so much to learn, that yeah, absolutely, I'd love to pass that along to anybody who wanted to know more about it.
Fab. Andy, what is the biggest or most exciting project you've worked on so far?
Oh God, there's been so many. I relayed the track on the West Coast Main Line. That's the main line between London and Euston, where over Christmas we had to take the track out, dig it down to formation level, and then put it back in time for the trains to be running again just after Boxing Day. I've changed big, huge bridging structures as well. Over in Lichfield, we had an issue with a bridge constantly being struck, so we've gone in, worked as a team to remove the deck of the bridge and change the deck of the bridge using huge cranes and machinery. There's been all sorts, but it's good though, because you get to see and plan it right from the start. It's not just about going on the night and changing some bridge deck or some piece of railway. You see that plan coming to fruition over a period of months, and it's good to see that work. You know, almost the changing of the and handing back of the railway at the end of it. That's the end. That's the icing on the cake. The whole build up is what's good to see. You get a lot of you get a lot of self satisfaction out of that when you fix something, and that is something that people are using every day, and that you drive past every day, and you can say, yeah, that was an issue and I fixed that.
Great. Heather, how do you find it is working as a female in engineering? Do you think it's different for females?
I think it's definitely more of a challenge, because quite often I'll find myself being the only woman in a room. When I was in construction, I was at a conference and there was 100 odd people there, and I was still the only woman in the room. So it's definitely something that you do notice more than I've ever noticed before in any other job. But it's not necessarily something that holds me back. Everyone has been really polite and friendly, and just really, you know, just really involved, and just no one's been, you know, I've never been excluded for being a female. In my particular role, it's always been something that's been really encouraged by both male and female colleagues. And there's such a Network Rail's really trying to drive females taking up engineering positions. So it's something at the moment that it gives you a lot of ability to get involved in causes and encouraging other people. So it's been really good. I've really enjoyed it. So
yeah, if I'd like to jump in there as well, I think Heather's absolutely right. We're pushing for more females to join the railway and engineering as a whole. And in fact, my daughter has this year started a job with Network Rail and absolutely loves it. So yeah, it is, and we're starting to see that more. And it's a better place for it as well. You know, we do need to have a more broader sense in frontline engineering, and it's great to see that.
Indeed. Okay. to both of you, what is the favourite part of your job? We'll start with you, Andy.
Favourite part of my job? The salary. No, the money is good. The favourite part of the job is just working well within a team. I think meeting new people all the time and meeting some really, really good people and working with them on a day-to-day basis. And I can honestly, hand on heart, say that 99% of the people I've met at Network Rail are fantastic people. Are really, and you become friends with these people. The guy in the first picture on one of my slides, I'm really good friends with him. He's a personal friend. He's more than a work colleague, and you kind of get that because you're in the mix with these people all the time. You form social groups out of that, and it's really good. That's what I enjoy the most, the people.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say exactly the same thing. The people at Network Rail, it's the best part. Everyone's just so friendly and just makes the day go so much faster. And meetings are just fun because you walk in, you have a little bit of a chat and a laugh before you get into the serious things, and it just makes the day go so much quicker. I think. And like you say, you make lifelong friends. I've made so many friends with people that I would never have met because they're up and down the country in different areas. And that's one of the great things is normally outside of COVID, I've travelled all over the UK that I never really did before. So that's really good. So, and I like the opportunity that Network Rail has brought me. I've got to work on projects with new technologies and run projects that in other companies you just wouldn't have the opportunity because it's either seen as too senior or it's just the opportunity is not there. So there's so much that this role brings.
So Heather, I understand that you want to work in systems engineering. Can you give us a quick overview of what that entails and why you want to do it?
So systems engineering, really briefly speaking, is the railway. Everything encompasses, it's a system, so everything within the railway interacts with each other. So for example, you have signalling and you have telecoms and you have track, and when you make a change to the track or a signal, you affect the telecoms, and it's the same, and every little thing has an impact on something else. So it's really important that you understand those interactions and how we can, if it's the problem, we can mitigate against it and how we can avoid impacting things. It's also about understanding processes and how we do things as a company. So ensuring that when we take on a project, we understand, it seems really simple, but understanding actually what we want to do and ensuring that actually what we've achieved is what we set out to do. Now that sounds really simple, but when you start off with a really basic idea like we want to run more trains in a station, that seems to us really simple, but actually it's a really complicated process, and it's making sure that actually when you've done all this big project that you're actually achieving the things you set out to do, and that's what entices me to it. I think it's amazing that these big projects that you make sure that what you wanted to do you've done and achieve something really good, and that's just basically what entices me into it.
Fantastic. One last one for you both. What do you think are the pros and cons of being an engineer? We'll start with you, Andrew.
The pros, working with good people in good teams, working outside, getting to do different things every day as well. It's not mundane. You come into work, you don't know what you're going to expect, and sometimes you can really be hit with a bit of a curveball, but that's what makes it interesting. New things every day, and the pay, I'm not going to lie, the pay is great. It just is. The opportunities that it gives you as well, whether that's home or abroad, your skill sets are transferable, so what you learn in frontline engineering can be transferred to other frontline engineering functions. And just the terms and conditions as well, you really are sort of looked after. I've got a very generous annual leave package and things like that, so you do get looked after. So yeah, that's a lot for me, really.
So yeah, for me, definitely the people, where you work, being able to travel and things like that. And I like the aspect of, like you say, that there's something new every day and the opportunities that come up, and using sort of new technologies. I think some of the cons, although I like the aspects of working outside and that, it surprised me sometimes how much the maintenance do go out. And when I was on my construction placement, it was absolutely hammering it down with rain one day, and I looked outside, it's like, there's no way we're going to site today. And I rang up the guy and was like, are we still going today? Yeah, of course. Oh, okay. Out comes my rain jacket. So I think, yes, that's really good, but sometimes it is cold, it is wet, and it can be a bit miserable, but the people really make it a good laugh anyway. And it's, you know, you won't be out in it long, because you go in, you do it, and you get out as soon as you can. But for me, it, you know, I don't like being in the rain and the snow, so that's definitely a bit of a con. And I think occasionally it can mean long hours if you're running up to a big project or a big commissioning, or there's some piece of big work that needs completing, a delivery. It can mean sometimes that you need to put in longer hours. Network Rail often will give you that time back in lieu, or, you know, oh, just leave early today, things like that. But it can mean that sometimes you might have to work a weekend, or you've got to work late in the office and things like that. And sometimes it can mean that sometimes at 8 o'clock at night, someone will ring you and say, can you help me? Or can you know this? So although it doesn't happen that often, it is part of the job.
Yeah, I forgot about the cons actually. That's it. I mean, for me, yeah. Although I tend to find that if I am working long hours, it doesn't really feel like I'm working long hours. It just, you know, because you just enjoy it that much. Yeah, that's about. I think Heather's nailed it really. If working outside, it is you do tend to get used to it. But she is right. It can be come all weathers. But there are roles within engineering where it is just indoors anyway. So and you're glad to get out. So but no, yeah, I think she nailed the cons, to be fair.
Do you miss the army at all?
I do. I do. I miss aspects of the army. I miss the camaraderie with some of the people in the army that I was in with. But there's some things that I don't miss. I don't miss standing on parade at 7 o'clock in the morning with shiny boots. But there are some aspects of it. But I'm really in the next best thing, if not a better thing. You know, I was in the army for 7 years. I've been at Network Rail 13 years now, and I can hand on heart say the time's flown by. It really has.
And Heather, just a final one for you. Do you find that an apprenticeship is more challenging because you're hands-on straight away?
No, not necessarily. I found that with the apprenticeship I do, we go around and we do 6-month placements throughout the business. So I've done 6-month placements with a bit of everything. So every team I've been in, I've been really fortunate. They've sort of asked me what I want to do, and they ease you in. So you sort of they'll start with sort of an explanation of something, and then they might show you how to use it. And I feel that being an apprentice, you're allowed to ask all those silly questions, and no one minds if you go, hang on a minute, you just said a really complicated abbreviation. What did you actually mean? And you can do that in meetings, because no one minds when you're learning, because everyone just wants to help. So although you are thrown in it a little bit, but that's great, because you want to get stuck in and you want to do stuff. You don't want to be sat on the sidelines bored. So no, I think it's a brilliant scheme.
Well, thank you both very, very much. Today's been absolutely brilliant. The content has been amazing, and I really think you will have inspired some youngsters to really look into rail engineering and take an interest in it. So thank you both very, very much.
Thank you for having us. Really
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for listening to us.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for listening.
And thank you to those who have tuned in and passed on your questions as well. You can get involved with our If You're an Engineer competition by registering on our website, leadersaward.com. And on there are a lot of resources, both classroom resources and home learning resources that will help you on your way. But for now, that's us. Thank you very much, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.